Hello, everyone. You're listening to Truth Cat Radio at truthcatradio.com. The current time is 8:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's East Coast, USA. Sorry, we got started a slight bit late here. I'm broadcasting from Chicago. As always, though, my name is Richard Kary, and this is Beyond the Matrix. I'd also like to say hello to our friends at Wolf Spirit Radio, and thank you to JP. We appreciate your simulcast, and we appreciate all of the extended listenership we have through Wolf Spirit Radio. So we do appreciate that very much, and I do personally. Today we have very interesting friend of mine, Dyl Elner, is going to be joining us for the program. And we're going to be talking with Dyl in just a few moments. And we're going to be discussing this Charlottesville incident from this past weekend. But I would just first like to mention we are completely listener supported, folks. So we could always use your help to keep everything running. We do not allow any corporate advertising. We just don't even set ourselves up for anything. Basically, we don't allow any corporate advertising. We don't do any monetizing even. Currently all our archives are free, available on YouTube there. But that being said, please help out and support the station. You can on our support page help with the contribution through PayPal. A lot of people love the ease and relative secure means PayPal offers. Most people don't have a problem with that at all. And any little bit helps, any spare amount you have lying around for the end of the month, it really can make a difference. A lot of times those little spare extra bits is what makes sure we just keep everything paid up, keep on the air, keep everything working properly. And we're always trying to upgrade too, It's really necessary in this day and age just to keep competitive and to keep the best information and quality to you with all of this uncensored and all these diverse opinions, guests that we try to provide. And all the work, of course, that our station manager, Stephen, and all of our hosts put in as well. So please help out with whatever you can. And please, we do most of our advertising through Facebook. Share and post, those reposts, those shares, those likes, they all help a lot, for the Beyond the Matrix page. Please, if you like the show before, you've heard a guest or two you like a lot, please, like my page. I haven't seen nearly as many on there as we've had listeners. And please like Truth Cat Radio. And we have a great news group, Truth Cats. I'd like you guys to check all those out. We do appreciate all the assistance in getting out the message. Now then, as I said, this airing we have Dyl Elner joining us. Dyl is a native to Chicago and earned a BA in photography from the American Academy of Art. With a primary focus on architecture, he has been shifting focus towards industrial and urban exploration. A keen observer of human nature, Dyl will often take to the streets, photographing people in action, perpetually in pursuit of capturing a decisive moment. Dyl joins us to discuss the August 12th, 2017 incident in Charlottesville, Virginia. Before the scheduled 12 p.m. start time, the Unite the Right free speech event had been declared a state of emergency, thereby having its permit revoked, being shut down before it had even begun. Antifa, politicians, and authorities are all to blame in their ways for decisions which led to violence, which could have been avoided. Yet all in the corporate media I can't believe all the opinions out there. In the corporate media, we're seeing the blame placed undeservedly upon the alt-right related groups, many of whom had merely attended with hopes of hearing the scheduled speakers. Now, some groups were aggressive. A couple may have come looking for a fight, but you have to understand there were a lot of different groups that all became coerced into. Well, coerced is a strong word, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, all wound up attending this event, and yeah, it's so yeah. I mean, I'm titling this topic "Charlottesville Setup: Free Speech and Antifa Aggression." But first, Dyl, thank you. Yeah, everyone, Dyl Elner, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. Yeah, I've known you in person as well, which I can't say for too many of my guests. But yeah, you've been a brilliant artist all the years I've known you, with everything you've pursued in photography and otherwise. Of course, some of your other art forms I've seen you work with firsthand as well. But yeah, I love the descriptions you give. I mean, you mentioned focusing on architecture. I've seen a lot of your architecture photography. It's really great. And your website, I recommend everyone check out your website to just see firsthand. And you can find links to his Facebook professional page if you want to requisition his services or negotiate. But yeah, no, I really love your description, your focus, both on architecture and as you mentioned, shifting towards industrial and urban exploration. And this whole idea of catching people in action. You mentioned capturing a decisive moment. I love that description. And actually, this could apply to this topic. Because I mean, a lot of these people found themselves in this event for one reason or another. And then once things started going down that weren't expected, a lot of people, reacted with very, primal ways, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I really love your descriptions, and just the way you're trying to capture life. Isn't that a good way to put it?
That would be actually, yeah.
Well, talk to the listeners a little about your your interest in photography, and both architecture and life capturing, all of this. It's a fascinating approach.
Well, the life capturing aspect, it sort of began when I got my first DSLR for my birthday about a year ago, and I became more comfortable with taking it out in the open because I have been trained using a DSLR provided by school, and a DSLR being a digital single lens reflex camera as opposed to minus a D would be a film camera. And
Okay.
well, originally started, I was applying for several jobs at once. I was applying for photographer's assistant jobs. I was applying for automotive photography jobs, which kind of got me into researching the industrial aspect of my photography. I've gone out there and taken photos of engines and trains and trolleys, and I've done car shows as well. You can see in a week's time, I'm going to be posting some of that stuff to my website, and you might be able to find it on my Facebook page as well. But the life capturing aspect, as you mentioned, I became, while I was looking for jobs, I was offered a job in Elgin, actually. The headquarters was in Elgin, but they'd send me out to Chicagoland area to basically conduct video surveillance of people who filed false, what do you call them, workers' compensation claims. And I'd have to drive around and follow them in their own neighborhoods in a camouflaged or a protected vehicle. I'd either be driving or I'd be sitting in the back while somebody else drive. Just
Really? Wow.
Video surveillance of these people. I never actually got the job, but I spent a lot of time training in a sense by taking out to the fields with my DSLR in tow. I'd dress very very casually. I just slip on my. I wouldn't dress too flashy. I just look like a standard spy, like something out of James Bond or Inspector Gadget, but
Mhm.
look like something that they can blend into the crowd. I put on my I have my DSLR at the same time, but at the same because when you go downtown, you don't really expect to see. You kind of expect to see everyone with a camera, every way, shape, or form. Or everyone's taking photos of Sears Tower, getting their photo taken in front of the bean and whatnot. So that kind of helped me blend in. And I was taking several photos of people without them even noticing that I'm taking their photo, and I've got an entire portfolio dedicated to this kind of photography. I have
Right.
out to the streets, and I've gone to art galleries, and I've gone to museums, just capturing people in the moment, and they don't even notice. And I've mastered sort of way without even looking into the viewfinder, into the LCD screen of my camera, without even looking at my camera in general. All I have to do is point and shoot in a sense, and they don't even notice I'm taking their camera, even if I have the device on silence. And I will be publishing a book of that, some of this photography, in about a couple weeks' time. As soon as I get a few more photo shoots of this out, I want to try getting out there at night when after hours, if I don't have to work in the morning.
Nice.
On a Saturday night, or I'm actually going to be off on Monday, so I've got this whole weekend to get that done. And as for the industrial and urban exploring, I'm going to be publishing that book as a book on that as well. So I'm going to keep that out there.
Great. And it sounds like if anyone, we're interested in a private investigator's services, you could probably do well in that line of work at this point as well.
I'm considering keeping that job, that category of my job search in the future. But right now, I'm full time, and I'm satisfied that I'm employed full time. Whereas recently, I've had to hustle for kind of had to hustle for work, and I'm haven't had very steady paycheck in the past.
Oh yeah, certainly the job market in general for just to start, no matter what you're skilled in or what you're trying to look for employment in, it is very difficult. But yeah, I added on top of it, like I say, anything specialized, it can be very competitive. So yeah, no, I can definitely relate. I'm sure everyone out there can these days. It sounds like the same story you'll hear very, very often in the current economy.
Oh yeah.
So and I mean, just how you describe catching people in a decisive moment. I mean, let's talk about that a little. I mean, when they're just about to make a decision, really, it affects how their future is going to be, or just really affects how our reality is going to take course, based on their decisions, their actions. And like I said, I mean, this can apply so much to this event in Charlottesville. So much chaos erupted so quickly, But you do seem like you're a keen observer of human nature. As was described,
Yeah, I am. And as with the decisive moment, I credit that to master photographer. Henri Cartier-Bresson, who did these very wonderful street photos in Paris and New York, and he also been out there in some action when riots and demonstrations have broken out in the 50s and 60s. And I think I can apply my skills as a photographer when I'm actually going to be looking forward to more, events like what unfolded in Charlottesville, see what happens here in Chicago. Because here in Chicago, unlike in Charlottesville, we have our police and our police are a lot more equipped to handle a situation like this. So it's not too uncommon. And I live in a neighborhood where pretty much everyone was either in the military, the police, or both at the same time. So you're pretty safe. You're safer here in Chicago than you are in a small town with a small town police force. That's kind of what escalated, but in the events that unwound in Charlottesville. But I'm good. I'm going off on a ramble right here. Anyway, there's another photographer I want to bring bring up at the same time, which kind of so I've had the idea to get out there and photograph an event like this because there's a Czech photographer that I know of. I saw some of his work here in Chicago at the Art Institute. Goes by the name of Joseph Kudelka. He, aside from doing some very wonderful travel photography featuring the gypsies and people native to various countries such as Ireland and Slovakia and France and Italy. He was actually there on the scene in the 1968 Soviet invasion of the Czech Republic when Soviet tanks came pouring down through the streets of Prague out of nowhere, unannounced. And he was out there in the action itself, and he loaded several hundred feet of what he describes as German movie film, which is a 16 millimeter, about 18 and a half millimeter film in these these pockets, and he's got his little camera on him. Hold on a minute. Don't mind me. That's my roommate. Hold on. He loaded up his camera with several hundred feet of this film, and he's out there in the action. People are throwing rocks and firing guns at these tanks, and full scale riot erupts right in the scene, and nobody expected something like this to happen. People thought, up until that point, the Czechs thought the Soviets were on their side, and having seen that, I'd like to get out there in the action myself as a photographer.
I mean, it's like a witness who's documenting in a form that transcends someone's testimony. When you see a photo that you could give to everyone and be like, here, interpret it as you wish, with your own mind. And a lot of people like that, it's just the next best thing to being there yourself, and seeing it. Now this Charlottesville event, wow. I don't know if it's the event and what happened. Well, it didn't actually happen, but the incident that led up to it getting called off right before it began, basically. I don't know if that is more, just amazing in how many ways, we're hearing it being accounted, or the aftermath. I mean, everyone is spinning this every way they can. I don't know if you've noticed much on there. It's not just the corporate media. It's the independent media. It's everyone. I mean, I don't know if you've caught much of it since Saturday.
I have. I've done what I can to learn from a pragmatic point of view what happened on Friday and Saturday. But a vast majority of what I've seen, especially what I've seen shared on Facebook via a lot of my friends who, let's face it, I'm sure a lot of my friends on Facebook are kind of leaning a bit far towards the left. They're kind of buying into the narrative that this was a neo-Nazi event. That all premises this, that, and the other. This kind of manifests itself as sort of this narrative that's been going on well before the the beginning of the Trump administration. They've the left in general has basically played the role of the boy who cried wolf. Only this is the little leftist who cried Nazi, and now it's kind of manifested into a point where they've spun this narrative pretty much against white people, calling them anyone who is a conservative or a patriot or anyone who has any inkling inclination against the mainstream liberal narrative. They're a Nazi. They're white supremacists. They're alt-right. They're misogynists. They're sexist. They're Islamophobic. And this has been drilled into our mainstream culture so many times through our our entertainment, through our movies, and through our educational system. It's gotten to a point where the left has actually created actual neo-Nazis and white supremacists. This you can see it so far as what's going on with the migrant crisis in Europe. You've tried to force the diversity down their throats up to a point. You've called them Nazis. You've called the native white people of Europe, Nazis for not accepting any of your, Mideastern or African migrants
Right.
gotten to a point where they have created actual Nazis, and this is kind of what it boiled over to in the unrest that unfolded in Charlottesville. These I'm not too familiar who was who there, other than some prominent figures. Spencer were there, and I think a friend of his I'm not too familiar with. They were there to cover the event and speak at the event, but because of the the fact that the counter protest got out of hand with Antifa, they kind of acted as like a watchdog for the establishment, trying to cause unrest. And you got the Ku Klux Klan and the actual Ku Klux Klan members and neo-Nazis bearing Nazi, swastika flags or Dixieland flags, and they're out there, starting a fight on their own part. They're
oh, I know. We had so many groups out there. That's another thing. Even some on the other side of the spectrum, like the so-called alt-right. Those people who are just, most wouldn't even say are part of the alt-right. As far as their beliefs. Like we have that. I don't know if you're familiar with that Milo, who's been in the public eye a lot.
Yiannopoulos?
Yeah. I mean, so that would be a good example of the alt-right. So I mean, everything from that to genuine alt-right people to, yeah, as I said, these like extreme, neo-Nazi groups. Some can even seem and come off rather Neanderthal-like. Really, I mean, I can't see how anyone could think that's helping anything. I really think also at second thought, once it was too late and you were there, but and you're like, oh well, we'll make the best of it. But I have to think some of these people questioned, who, they were being associated with just by being at the same event, because I think it did some damage there. But yeah, I mean, this is being spun in every way possible to suit everyone's agenda. I can say though that this is truly independent media here on TruthCat Radio. And I don't think anyone could argue that this is an event that totally proves that. I mean, we have every variety of opinion right here on TruthCat Radio regarding this event. I mean, I've heard at least 4 or more, from different shows and people's takes this week, that we've broadcast alone that are completely different ways of looking at everything. And I think people like that. People sense that, we really are unfiltered here. And I think that has a lot of people afraid. They're afraid of how big we've been getting already and how we're continuing to grow. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to compete with that kind of level. But yeah, these decisive moments, because I want to talk about the information that I have about this event too. Because I think I have a lot of information that I've gathered based on a lot of my sources. I have some inside information, knowledge of people more than a lot of people out there. There's this whole alt-right phenomenon that has been, becoming like a catchphrase with the Trump phenomenon. But I was actually aware of all these people, long before Trump decided to run, and so before you were hearing alt-right on Alex Jones and Breitbart and this and that. I was in touch with and aware of a lot of these things. So, I mean, it's very interesting how now, everyone's using that term for their purposes with an event like this getting spun every which way, just as much as all these other terms, like hate group and neo-Nazi, this and that. But these decisive moments, this is what I want to discuss here. Just a couple of facts a lot of people might not be aware of. But this is truly also reporting you won't hear anywhere else here on Beyond the Matrix, I'd say. And I'd love to get all of you, guests like yourself, who are willing to discuss, like, even all of the edgy topics still, free speech, though, I want to just make clear, before we talk about anything related to race or, this or that's perspective, I think free speech is what this is really about. And everyone has to realize that more than anything. All right, what you need to be upset about is that free speech, the First Amendment, is in danger in this country. Okay, now I don't know, myself and you as well, Dyl, are probably now in danger actually in this state. Okay, I mean we may be considered Illinois Nazi terrorists, so get ready because we're probably going to be cuffed after this episode ends in the totalitarian cultural Marxist states of America that we're now in here. But yeah, Illinois Senate passed a measure for neo-Nazis to be classed as terrorist groups. They're calling anyone affiliated or trying to defend anything related to this event, okay, as neo-Nazis. That by default, us to even talk about anything that goes against the official point of view, just like 9/11 or whatever, of course, I'm sure would put us under this broad heading now, Nazi terrorists. So, that's where this is headed. This is about free speech, and people just don't get it. This whole, I mean, George Soros, who's funded so many groups in the past and agitators, Ferguson in Baltimore, all this Black Lives Matter negative press that everyone is, having trouble arguing that it's not negative press at this point. I mean, this is all like funded by all these, non-governmental organizations funded by people like George Soros. It's not grassroots in any way, shape, or form. And anything that is, which a lot of the people in the alt-right, the true alt-right, not the neo-Nazis, okay, not the alt-right, but the true alt-right people have, intellectual, well, I mean, metapolitics is a good way to describe it because it's more than politics, encompassing that which is outside of politics as well, because ultimately you have to address everything, in society. But yeah, I think it's about free speech, and I think that's what people are missing, Dyl.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm beginning to fear that people don't seem to grasp the concept of what free speech is. They want to make it somewhat malleable. The whole hate speech is not free speech narrative that the left is, putting out there for these past few years. And excuse me. And as an artist, this would definitely affect me in one way or the other. Now, I don't really putting anything out there provocative. Most of my photos are pictures of pictures of buildings, pictures of abandoned buildings as well. And I don't even I could see how somehow that would get censored in one way, shape, or the other. It could get that crazy, And even one photo I took. It's these abandoned grain silos just right off the Damon Avenue Bridge. The Damon grain silos, which have been abandoned since the 70s. You can see very prominently on one of the big square towers. It says "fuck Trump" on big bold letters on it, which I had no.
Sorry, but technically we don't want to be cursing on the air here. I mean, we could be getting rebroadcast on radio waves, and that's a big no-no if you want to stay on the airwaves. But no, I mean, just say euphemism next time. Go ahead.
I'm only quoting what I saw written on.
Right. But we'll try to use a euphemism when we quote. But no, continue, please.
Right, and I could see just one way or the other. A lot of my artist friends who are of the anti-Trump mentality could probably use that to their advantage, or it could be if somehow I were to Photoshop to say if I were to Photoshop that right now to say praise Trump, it could be taken down because that's one of the most prominent photos I have on my website up there, right there.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to even classify now Trump supporters with this neo-Nazi label because of this event. I mean, they're attacking him. I really can't believe how many ways this is getting spun. I mean, haven't you heard some of this ridiculous, associating that's been going on now?
I'm in the thick of it, buddy.
Right. And then, yeah, you mentioned, I mean, a lot of the people around you, you've been friends with this and that, have been from the left. I mean, being an artist, you can't help but rub shoulders with a lot of that. So, yeah, no, tell us a little about some of your impression.
My impression?
Well, you mentioned being in the thick of it. So, yeah, you have to, you pick your battles even when you express yourself, when you're around a lot of people like this. And I don't know, the left is very much intolerant these days, right? It's like they don't want anyone else's opinion but theirs to be heard, right?
I mean, to be the bastion of tolerance, they practice intolerance. They practice intolerance themselves in order to somehow gain tolerance. That my friend, is the very definition of social justice. And being in the thick of it, I just see a lot of some very minuscule hints that people are against Trump. I see it on businesses, I see it in graffiti, and I see it in the general attitude of a lot of people that I rub shoulders with. And some events that I go, sometimes when I go out to a bar, to an event, to usually either a music event or a electronic music event, every so often I'll see a punk rock DJ with a t-shirt that says Nazi punks, not Nazi punks, alt-right punks F off, or every so often I see the great deal of these leftist propaganda, stickers and posters and graffiti all throughout some of the more left-leaning neighborhoods in Chicago, including downtown Oak Park. I can't go drive down the alley without seeing the equality sign logo, or the he will not divide us bumper sticker, or sticker on a window or something like that, or a poster with the lady with the American flag burqa, whatever that is.
And the resist is popular in Chicago as well, right?
Yeah, resist, or any every so often I'll, without even realizing it, there's a what do you call it? A protest going on downtown right when I'm trying to get home, or if I have to work downtown. I have had some trouble getting into town via the I-55 because it was blocked off all the way from Austin, because there was an accident caused by some protesters who were, I don't know where they were exactly, but someone either tried to block the road or something, and they were also causing a ruckus in the CTA and caused it to stop. And I was in the train right behind it, and it was stopped there for almost half an hour because there was a protest going on.
And of course, it was tolerated because it was the politically correct left, right? I mean, if it were, right-wing principles and ideals that the protests were behind, I'm sure that, it would probably have been locked up within 5 minutes if they hadn't left the premises, right?
And one evening when I went to a concert at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, some of the leftists who were having a demonstration, I don't know if it had anything to do with Trump or not, but they left one of their banners, those big paper banners, in the theater, and someone tried to hang it over the not the balcony, but the terrace behind the stage, and some of the musicians got up and tore it down, which to my surprise, to the applause of the orchestra and audience alike. I don't even remember what the poster said, but
like I said, yeah, the double standards, are just amazing. I mean, yeah, a lot of this really does seem to come down to intolerance. I know that, with a lot of, especially in a big event, controversial event like this past weekend, a lot of people say, be wary of the whole, divide and conquer, them just trying to get you to take sides, to fight with each other, to argue. But at the same time, you have to see how the left, are so funded toward instigating all these things. At the same time, I have to report, on a lot of this information. And yeah, it is a cult of intolerance that we have from these politically correct far left activists. And it's complete censorship. They only want to hear their point of view, and if you don't have that, you're not allowed to be heard. Now, I was speaking with you the other day, or I think we were writing as well, but now one of the gentleman who was planning to give a speech at this event. I actually, a year ago, had on my show here. I interviewed him, and I do keep in touch with him. This was Daniel Freiberg. He's from the Swedish AltRight. He has a publishing company, Arctos. And I'm also familiar with a few other people who's been associates of his, a couple other people who have written for some of the same websites he's affiliated in, AltRight.com and others, and that sort of thing, like Keith Preston, for one. And yeah, quite a few other gentlemen who support a lot of these, just a lot of these politics, I guess you could say. But, well, I think Daniel Freiberg is a very significant person to bring up. I mean, yeah, I've had him on the show. I'm sure people, if they listen to the interview, they could see, I mean, he's a very down-to-earth gentleman. He's nothing like what, you're seeing on television. If you're seeing some footage of some, neo-Nazi or Ku Klux Klan member with, some violent sort of outburst, and there were some agent provocateurs, for the far right side that were placed in there too. Let's be sure that's understood as well for the audience, the listeners here. But Daniel Freiberg, Dyl, Daniel Freiberg believes in winning the war of ideas, in that we must first win the culture war, control the narrative, the very definitions of these concepts. Only after this can we begin to win as popular political parties. I mean, the left has dominated for so long, decades now. And yeah, we really need to win the culture war of ideas, of the people, where it won't be so hard, to be successful politically once the time comes, basically. Don't put the cart before the horse. So yeah, I mean, this war of ideas, I think, is essential to what he believes that I've advocated myself. And I on that note, all right, I must point out it did not benefit. This is no criticism of Daniel, because I'm sure he was not really aware, just like a lot of people when they were invited to this event, hey, free speech event, this and that, principles related to the alt-right. It's basically all these people can be, targeted with, who are being called neo-Nazis for attending. But no, hearing me out here, it did not benefit the alt-right, people such as Daniel Freiberg, to become associated through just attending the event. People are going to associate you with every group who's at it. They might not have known that, all of these different groups, everything from alt-right organizations to, neo-Nazi groups that are just acting violent and Neanderthal-like, only to fall into a setup, which was, of course, was going to be used. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? Regardless of who organized it or their motives, that's not really even important at this point. Okay, at Charlottesville, we had a honey trap for all groups of people related to the alt-right. This had additionally even grown to include many concerns of the patriot movement and free speech in general. I mean, we wound up with a large array of people who, in that area, it was a genuine grassroots movement of all different sort of groups to this free speech rally. Regardless of what you feel about the Civil War or the Confederacy, the statue, I don't think that was as big of an issue anymore for these people. They want to hear these speakers, and they got a permit and everything. But I mean, yeah, as Daniel himself reports, I think I sent you the video clip you may have caught. But I mean, yeah, he describes it as escalating into a total civil war. Now, these agitators were near the entrance to the park. I guess you had to walk through a long row with Antifa on both sides to get to the park. But once you were in the park area, it seemed like it was all just alt-right people and all these other different groups, to hear the speakers who were assembling before noon. But there was so much violence near the entrance/exit to the place before it even began at noon that, the police said, because of some incidents, that, yeah, it had to be shut down. It was a state of emergency. We're taking away your permit. And then to add considerable harm and even death, which resulted ultimately. I mean, the way the police dealt with it was absurd, okay? Because once it was shut down, okay, it would be logical to say, okay, anyone who came for this event, leave in that direction. Any of you Antifa protesters and the like, you leave in the exact opposite direction, police being in the center, and there you have it, okay? But no. What did they do? All the police basically bulldoze everyone just out of the way in the same direction, all into each other. So they push all of the alt-righters into all of the Antifa, just for blocks in every direction. There was just complete chaos of every type of everyone scattered everywhere. Okay. Now, at the entrance and exit, there were a lot of Antifa people who came very aggressively, ready to and doing considerable harm. I mean, were like 2 liters filled with cement. There were all different sorts of weapons. They were even throwing, I heard, urine, feces, and these sort of things, and rocks. A lot of rocks. A lot of people got hurt pretty badly from that, as you can imagine.
Mace.
But yeah. There was a lot of mace. I mean, Daniel himself was maced. A couple of these other people. Now, in addition to that, okay, so near the entrance exit, I mean, I don't see why these people were forced, and that's what they mentioned actually, is that the alt-righters didn't see why they had to walk through this gauntlet, as they called it, of Antifa on both sides, walking down this long corridor basically before you get anywhere near the park area. I mean, why did the police have it set up like that? Why not make sure the Antifa have to be so far off in one area to the side? I mean, the left get to have all their safe spaces and this and that, right? Give them their little space way off to the side where the alt-righters can enter and leave without having to be anywhere near the range of them. I mean, they were getting hit with the rocks and everything else, just trying to enter and exit the area. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious why this got shut down before it began. And then pushing everyone into each other. It's, it's just ridiculous. Now, on top of that, I mean, I think the way the Antifa were allowed to be there, guaranteed there'd be, a justification to shut it down so that these people wouldn't be allowed to speak. I think that's basically what the initial main motive was. Now, we had someone very much an insider to the genuine alt-right. I know a lot of people out there are really familiar with who's who, but Richard Spencer and Heinrich Palmgren and Daniel Freiber, these are gentlemen who are truly in touch with the alt-right of both America and Europe. Now, Heinrich Palmgren of Red Ice TV, Red Ice Radio, they've been around for 10 plus years, and they came planning to live stream the event. Okay, now that morning, a little before noon, I don't know exactly when, but their entire website went down. All right. It's been down. It was down for at least a couple of days. As of like Monday or Tuesday or so, it was still down. I don't know if it's up yet again today. They had like a members site area and a regular, site for non-members as well. Posted their videos from over 10 years, of course, and all of their live stream videos and interviews and everything for, extra things, of course, for the members as well, and doing articles now as well. Very nice media company, actually. But simultaneous to this website, it had been around for over 10 years. No one ever messed with it before. Going down that morning to stop the live streaming of the event, Heinrich of Red Ice Radio, Red Ice TV, his iPhone completely gets wiped as well, okay, the morning before the event. Now, when I say wiped, I mean back to factory settings, all right? There's no record of him having anything on it, as if you were to buy it fresh at the store. Had to take it to the store to have them completely reinitialize the entire iPhone. All right, this is heavy business. These are people with connections, okay, that took down his site and did this to his phone. And as I said, for at least 48, 72 hours or so, it had been down. And right this second, I could actually check over the break, but I can't be sure if they managed to get anything back up yet. they're going to even have to change the anything with the website address or what. But that's some major, major orchestrated an insider attack. And from the establishment, I think that pretty much shows that it's pretty obvious whose side the establishment is on here, and it's not the side advocating free speech, obviously, for everyone. That's for sure. From these people who are really in control of all of our electronics, all of our data and websites, and all of these accounts that we rely on. But I don't know if did you catch the? It was kind of lengthy. Heinrich describing to his members what had happened.
I actually did not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was pretty rough, and you could hear how sincere he's being. Speaking to all of his members to hold on. I mean, because he doesn't need to lose his entire media company over this. Red Ice TV. I mean, we've been working for over 10 years here. They're actually expanding their family, just recently started even. So, I mean, it would be horrible. I mean, his wife has a show she's been doing for a number of years with them as well. Out of America, but they've been in Sweden and America back and forth a lot. But it's a Swedish-based company. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's just some real connections to wipe out his iPhone, take down the website. But that also shows how much the establishment was afraid of Red Ice TV live streaming this event, to show all the information that they would show and the amount of viewership they reach who are empathetic to a lot of these principles. Now, we got a little more information. Could shed a little bit more light on things to speak about after the break here. So, I definitely appreciate you being here and to stick around for the second half, Dyl. I don't know if you wanted to take a break. You can go ahead and do that now. If you have some things you want to take care of before 8, it'll give you about 7 minutes that way or so, just to have a break before the second half.
All righty.
All right, thanks. If you want to just go ahead and mute there, and then until you come back.
All righty.
Thanks. And generally we always like to mute when we're not speaking. Keeps it for everyone who calls in too, please. So it's a little more noise free. You just get added static upon a multiple of static each time someone else is not muted, added to the conversation. But this we're going to talk about a couple other factors here in the second half. And I've known these people quite well, as I've said. I mean, Heinrich Palmgrim's Red Ice TV, Daniel Freiberg. And so for someone to say these are all like neo-Nazi, violent, hateful people who had anything to do with this event, I'm sorry. I have to report the facts here. I don't care if people label me a neo-Nazi and Illinois decides I'm a Nazi terrorist after this. So be it. Okay, I'm a journalist who is actually going to report, all the facts. But thanks, everyone, and please help out with Truth Cat Radio. I mean, if you do want to keep hearing all of this unfiltered, uncensored content, all these different opinions, we need your help. We have, as I say, PayPal on our support page at truthcatradio.com. A lot of people like PayPal, and every little bit does help. It's getting to that part of the month now where all the bills are.
Yeah, damn it.
They need to get taken care of. Yeah, see, Stephen agrees. So please help us out and give us a little something. I know some of you do already, and we are very thankful for that. But we could use a little more help to make sure we stick around here.
Well, those people that are listening to us via Wolf Spirit Radio, they may not feel quite the same way, but who knows? Maybe you guys could drop a euro, or we like pounds. I kind of like pounds. Let me think about that. What's better, pounds or euros? I kind of like pounds. I think the exchange is better with pounds, and I think you guys are going to be going back to pounds anyway.
Yeah. And good for that. We need all these countries to take their currencies back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
But I do want to, just make sure that you guys realize when you're listening to Richard here that there's a really good show coming up next. Stick around. No, looking at the number of listeners and all that stuff, you guys, I just want to make sure you guys stick around. I know you're, seriously, we're going to have a good show coming up here, and lots and lots of information, very, very pertinent, and hopefully you guys will appreciate it. But again, this is Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. It does take a lot of work to do what we do. We're not getting paid, and it is expensive. It's not just hours and hours that it takes just for the host to do their thing. And of course, obviously, I spend 48 hours, 24/7 doing all waking hours. Let's just say all waking hours, pretty much. I'm even eating right now. But anyway, so every little bit that comes in is appreciated. And yeah, it's rough because when we do get a little bit, obviously, it goes really quick, and we always need more. So. But if you've never done it before, it'd really be nice if you could drop something in our PayPal, which is StephenKelly714@gmail.com. And when you do, please make sure you say it's for a friend or a family member so that we get the whole buck, or the whole pound, or the whole euro, or whatever, drachma, or kroner, or shekel, or whatever it is that you're dropping in there. Okay? We appreciate it all. Also, if you're listening to the show on YouTube, please make sure that you give us a thumbs up and a nice comment. Share it with your friends, share it on Facebook, and if you have not joined our Truth Cat Radio Facebook page, what are you waiting for? Come on. We need you to join that page. Okay? It's very simple to do. Just go on Facebook and do a search for Truth Cats, and it should pop right up. And if you see 2 or 3 other Truth Cat pages, join those also. That's us. Okay? We love it. Most of the Truth Cat pages, associate pages, are actually doing really good right now, but we'd like to see the official Truth Cat Radio page catch up. It's got a long way to go before it catches up to, say, like the Truth Cat Radio, Truth Cat group, or the Truth Cat fan page that we've got up. So also, let's see what else. I want to also mention that when we come back, there's going to be live broadcast. Well, I don't know if we're going to do after hours tonight or not. We'll see what happens, how much energy I have left after the show, and who's awake and alive if Richard wants to get involved. I know last week he was pretty much hanging there, but there's a very good chance that we will continue to broadcast some live content after the show. What we have is over here at midnight. Okay? So stick around for that. And then, of course, when we come back on Monday, we have our Metaphysical Monday, which right now consists of Shiva Moore and her show at 8 p.m. And then, again, we have Joan Handgarter and Angel Essence at 10 p.m. And then, of course, Daryl is on at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. And right after Daryl is Dave Robbins. He's on at 10. We have a new host coming on that we're really excited about. His name is Brad Olson, and if you never heard of Brad Olson, just do a search, and he'll be the big, giant, monstrous guy with blonde hair. You got to see this guy, dude. Seriously, Richard, this guy's large. He's like Paul Bunyan when you see this guy. And he's a partier, too, which is a lot of fun. Anyway, but I'm very excited to have him here. He actually has a publishing company, and he's written quite a few books. He has a whole series of books out there, and we're really happy to have him with us. And his show is going to be called The Esoteric Circle. It's actually not going to debut this week, but it's going to debut on the 31st of August, and it's going to be on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. All right, that's 4 hours before Terry Joyce. There's a good chance that he may actually go for 3 whole hours. Then we'll still have an hour between Terry when she comes on at 10 p.m. Eastern with Freedom of Choice, which brings us back to Thursday. All right, once again, if you want to be part of our team, give me a call. The best way to contact me, Stephen D. Kelly, is through my personal email, which is what we use here for our correspondence, and that is law17gun@aol.com. That's law17gun at aol.com. Okay, but if you want to contribute, which we hope you will consider doing as soon as possible, please, it's StephenKelly714@gmail.com. Okay, and please, no correspondence to that one. That's strictly for PayPal, and no PayPal to the Law 17 Gun at AOL. All right, strictly for email. All right, I know I'm forgetting something, but we're going to leave it at that and just let everybody know that it is August 17, 2017. This is Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com, and you're listening to Beyond the Matrix with Richard Kary.
Thank you, Stephen. You do that very well. very articulate for such speed. Quite articulately. And yes, please, everyone, help out and support us with whatever you can. We could use those donations. And everyone, this is TruthCat Radio at truthcatradio.com. You're listening to Beyond the Matrix with Richard Kary. Tonight, our guest is Dyl Elner. And Dyl is native to Chicago. He's a photographer, and he focuses on architecture, but has also shifted towards industrial and urban exploration. Dyl will often capture people in decisive moments, as he describes it. And so, yeah, that's why he's, I think, very useful to describe a lot of the, just the sort of tensions and situations people found themselves in this weekend. And just being an artist and just, well, really a political analyst as well, from what I can gather. Very good counterpart, I think, for dissecting this event. Now, yeah, Dyl, hi, I'm sorry. Did I give you enough of a break?
Plenty.
Okay, great. Yeah, so yeah, like I was, just to recap a little, yeah, the Antifa really should have been at this event, kept way over to a side, you know, in a little certain area where, yeah, you know, the people of the alt-right could get to the park and leave the park, you know, without having to go anywhere near them, without being within a rock pelting range or any of this sort of thing. But they weren't. And that basically is what led to, and this, and, you know, these Antifa people were being violent. They came with weapons and, like I said, all these other things that were being thrown. All right. Now, even, you know, the far right groups that seem to be bordering on fascist neo-Nazi sort of, you know, vibe there, you know, they generally didn't come with bats and sticks and all that, you know, like the, you know, the way it's, you know, a lot of people try to market these groups. You know, they came with shields, you know, and that's clearly for defense, and that is what they used them for. And they, you know, they needed them. I think a lot of other people would have benefited. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's no denying from anyone who was actually on the premises. We're now actually getting reports of police that's starting to come out now that it's been almost a little over a half week or so. We're getting police reports. I mean, you know, individual policemen admitting how they, you know, were expected to stand down from keeping these groups apart, you know, to have a big race riot, you know, a big violent clash. And, you know, are really ashamed of, you know, the departments that they're working for. So, yeah, I mean, this stuff is actually even coming out now. It didn't take that long. I'm not that surprised. We've had whistleblowers in so many other events. And I think people are fed up too with the whole narrative. You know, I mean, like you said, people are getting pushed so far now. They are just saying, you know, yeah, you know, if you want to label me with these names, you know, go ahead. I know that that's not the case, you know, but I'm not going to be afraid of standing for my principles. I think that's what we're seeing when we see a lot more people who are willing to in any way attend. But at the same time, I really don't think, like I said, this many different groups gathering together could not have been used to the opposition's advantage. And I think it was very damaging for people like, yeah, you know, Richard Spencer, Daniel Freiber, Heinrich Palmgren, you know, to be just in the same vicinity as a lot of the, you know, like, yeah, more extreme neo-Nazi and not very intellectual, aggressive sort of, you know, subculture groups that may have been in attendance. But, you know, of course, at the same time, come on, it's a free speech rally to decide which groups can enter and which groups can't. That's, you know, I mean, the whole thing that the you know, these, with the word neo-Nazi that's being accused of is like what? You know, they always accuse, you know, Nazi Germany of being fascist, right? Well, you know, these are all the same principles that we have to be wary of here. Because, yeah, it's so easy for the other side to be the one that swung more toward that side of the pendulum. That's really what it keeps coming around to again and again with everything related to this incident. Now, as I mentioned, though, with the wiping of Heinrich Palmgren's iPhone and taking down of his website, been around for like over 10 years, Red Ice TV, Red Ice Radio, that's, you have to admit, Dyl, that's some pretty serious players to pull that off.
Exactly. We let them know I got their hands on it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
People have some connections. They've got some
Yeah.
fun with George Soros, so it speaks for itself.
Yeah, certainly. And now, just the way, of course, too, that, as I said, once a state of emergency was declared, everyone to get bulldozed together, into each other. So you have these violent Antifa people, and you push all the alt-right, well, everyone who's there for the free speech rally, just, because it was a lot of different groups. It's not fair to even use the term alt-right for this. Get bulldozed into them, So, I mean, all right, now let's get to the, one of the decisive moment sort of situations that you can understand, okay? Now, all these people are suddenly getting bulldozed into each other, okay? Now, suppose you went there to hear some people speak. Next thing you know, you and every other person in group who may not necessarily have the same exact attitudes as you, who came to hear this people, are now just getting pushed into some protesting agitators with weapons. Okay? Now, are you going to tell me that you're going to get hit by these people and things thrown at by these people, and you're still going to remain passive? Well, you might just do your best to just get out of there alive, and not get maced or not too maced heavily. But if some person does wind up, a couple of them did wind up throwing a few punches or whatever before it's over. I mean, come on, it's fight or flight. A lot of humans at that point. That's even something that you could hardly debate if you have to imagine that situation.
Absolutely. They're about to get out of there before I get hit in the head with a bike lock at least, or mow down my guy's car like what happened.
Right. Yeah, and they're trying to use that for their advantage too. I mean, yeah, that car, they didn't show, I don't know, some claim it was up to 10 minutes worth of footage before what they actually show, where the car hits the person. I mean, that car was being attacked by all these people. All right. Now, if you're in a car with people all over attacking it, you're afraid you're going to die before it's over. Okay. And once you have an opportunity, you're going to, peel rubber and, to be damned at that point, because it's, like I said, fight or flight once again. But yeah, they only want to show the part. They want to make it seem like, this and that, so, I mean, you have isolated incidents. I heard one report of one fatality, another report of two. I'm not really sure which is the case. I've heard more reports of just the one, but, and then, of course, people are trying to spin that to their own advantage. There were protesters or something at the funeral of the one person, and it doesn't even make sense anymore after a while. But this is what I've heard. And now there's all these different incidents all over the country in other cities, and they're trying to use the statue thing or just protesting. And I mean, like I said, not just Ferguson and Baltimore, but a lot of the Trump rallies when he was campaigning. All this sort of thing. There were a lot of agitators, from these non-government organizations, many of which funded, like you mentioned, Soros. George Soros is a big-time funder of these groups. Now, I also was looking into some information about the organizer. I really don't know what to think about this guy. I mean, I don't know if you saw some of the links I sent you, but Jason Kessler is the name of the organizer of the event, Unite the Right Free Speech Rally. Now, it's I don't know, it's very interesting, because he's been associated with a lot of different groups, a wide spectrum of groups from the past. I mean, I can confirm firsthand, that people like Daniel Freiber, Heinrich Palmgren, Richard Spencer are genuine, that they're not spreading hate or advocating violence. They're not what people define in that sense when they say neo-Nazis and all this stuff. But as far as this Kessler person, I and perhaps they, can't be 100% sure. I mean, everyone changes their opinion over the years. A lot of people, that is. And, everyone has the right to do that. I mean, because I hear, from the past, he was kind of different politically even. There's a couple articles that are suspicious that he, well, just could have been, controlled opposition, a provocateur, the one article phrases it. And, they go on to cite all this information about him. I don't know if, anyone could look into it more on their own. Jason Kessler, you guys could do a search yourself. The one would be Nation One News, NationOneNews. And then, let's see, there's another one that has some things to say from, it's claiming to be a Russian, I don't know where it's based, but the Russophile, TheRussopphile.org, Russia News Now. So, but yeah, they mention a lot of his political past. I mean, you mentioned he supports gun control. That's not a very right attitude. But I mean, a lot of these things they have up there, like from 2012, 5 years ago, people change political parties over the years, change attitudes. I'm sure you've even been around this yourself, Dyl. They mention, just some of the people he's supported in the past, saying positive things about Obama and Clinton. And then Occupy. I believe they mention the Occupy movement. So for him to be involved with all of those things, and then to come around later and be this big person that's getting associated with the alt-right, enough to try to convince everyone from, like I said, the alt-right to the genuine alt-right to the middle of the road, gatekeeper media alt-right, meaning like Alex Jones, Breitbart people, to the, whole neo-Nazi Ku Klux Klan type fringe groups even attending, all of these to all get together. He's the one who was behind that. This Jason Kessler, and like I said, this is someone who 5 years ago is sending out positive tweets about Obama and Clinton, and who's supported gun control and involved with Occupy, which was a complete joke. I mean, so yeah, it is suspicious. I mean, either this guy just totally changed his mind, but he had a really bad idea, putting all these people together and thinking that wouldn't reflect bad on some to be around the others, and how it could be used to the opposition's benefit. Or could he really be a plant? But it's really not worth. It's neither here nor there if he's a plant. Just to know this information is good enough to be aware of these possibilities, and just to realize who's who. And I mean, yeah, we don't know. All we know is all these groups were put together, but you don't associate them all under one big label, because that's the biggest flaw right off the bat. People are thinking, if you attended this thing, you're a, advocate of white supremacy, meaning you want to kill everyone else. You completely advocate hate and want to murder everyone else of other races and this and that. And, it's just complete nonsense, because anyone who's really supportive of the alt-right, even people who are supportive of the principles Hitler had, who I'll hear posting on social media and this and that, because they'll also be following things related to the alt-right. I mean, even these people, don't advocate killing other people. They live and let live, is what a lot of those people, from what I've seen, are about. And there's a strong nationalism, just like any other pride out there. There's, ethnic pride, or, there's Hispanic pride, African pride, African American pride. It's fine if you have, pride in your Asian heritage, but if you're white in any way, shape, or form, you need to be bred out of existence, because you're, that's the only way we're going to fix you. That's the attitude. It's just absurd, but that's the politically correct climate out there. It's not a joke anymore. In the 80s, that could have been said and people could laugh it off. And it wasn't quite a reality. Well, it wasn't a reality at all. I can tell you, because I was born in 76, so by mid 80s, I was aware enough of the climate. And yeah, it's amazing what's changed in my lifetime alone. It really is. So, this is really the kind of issue people need to be aware of related to this. I think people are missing so many points, not just the point. They are missing so many points here. It's not even funny. And then there's so many falsehoods you're getting out of it. And of course, yeah, some people are spinning it for just whatever they need. I don't know why Trump's even getting, people are trying to involve Trump in this. They're trying to every which way call him a Nazi because he makes a comment that isn't completely towing the politically correct agenda. That's basically what I see. But I at this point, I really can't even, I get too angered when I expose myself to much propaganda out there these days. But I don't know. What are some of the things you've been hearing from some of the more corporate media sources still?
It seems that they don't want to, aside from demonize President Trump in every way, shape, and form. They want to not let him do his job as president. They want to keep the political climate in the state that it is. They want... See, essentially what it boils down to is like Trump is the new captain of the ship, and the entire crew, they're just acting like a bunch of whiny, spoiled, emotionally stunted babies that just won't pull up their own end of the deal. It's the problem I see with the mainstream media. They've,
I like to use the word corporate media and independent media. Because alternative could almost make it sound like it's not quite true. And, mainstream almost sounds like it's the one to go to, So I think corporate and independent are actually a lot better ways of controlling the narrative. But I'm sorry, I've been trying to get other people to try, supporting me with this too, because, I was turned on to it from another who had, I don't know, I just really like the way he's pointed that out. But go ahead, though, please.
It's about all I have on that part with the...
Yeah, but no, the accusations toward Trump. I don't know. Have you heard some of the things they're saying about him? From some of these leftists, and we're getting a lot of mainstream corporate sources. This corporate media sources with a lot of established people is the point. Politicians who. And what are some of these quotes that you've heard?
Oh, I haven't heard quotes.
All right.
Trump has established in the press that he condemns the violence on both sides, and they're trying to dismiss that like he has some sort of
right. Yeah, he has some kind of an agenda against Antifa and social justice warriors who are innocent and never do anything wrong. Yeah, if you I don't get it. These protesters, okay, they show up at someone else's free speech rally, okay? When I say someone else, I mean people who have completely opposite points of view. All right? That is, by that very act alone, you're being the aggressor, okay? You know what? If all of the Antifa people stayed home, there wouldn't have been anything that would have happened, okay? If all of them would have showed up and stayed in a little area and not thrown anything or hit anyone or been violent or anything, guess what, okay? No one from the people who showed up would have. And that's everything that we've been hearing from the people who are on the ground there. All right. So, we're getting all these reports out there from people who weren't there or very well edited footage, that'll show something that people want you to see. And like I said, there were people who were paid not just to be an Antifa there, but also, KKK and, various neo-Nazi, violent, isolated incident people, who, we had some of those groups, but they weren't on average, from what we saw from everyone's accounts, who's relatively neutral. We didn't see, it was more an isolated incident where it really seemed like agent provocateurs, even under such conditions, this really was manufactured more than anything. But yeah, I say just stay home, the whole idea that, oh, look at these Nazis. We have to stop their fascism by going there and stopping them from free speech. That's the attitude. And then, I don't know, but then they're not the aggressor at all. And for Trump to say that they had anything to do with it makes him a Nazi who needs to be, one person's calling for his impeachment because of a statement he made on how both sides are to blame. Okay, that's how insane the political climate is getting on how everyone's trying to spin it for their own agenda. Come on.
with the the WrestleMania meme that was posted of Trump when he was on WWE years ago. They photoshopped or put a CNN logo over the guy's face and showed Trump tackling the guy. I remember how that exploded all over. I remember how that exploded into a fiasco, and the media was calling for. Well, yet again, the media was calling for an impeachment of Trump, but regular folks like ourselves, they responded by making more creative, Trump versus CNN video memes on Facebook and YouTube. There's even Paul Joseph Watson put together a compilation of these.
Getting a lot of static there. I'm not sure if something's rubbing up against Mike or if it's wind or I don't know.
Well, it's probably the AC. Let me try to close the vent.
I don't know what it is, but I wasn't hearing it earlier, so I don't know. Just letting you know.
I've got my computer up on a stack of books, and I've got some food right here in front of me. I haven't had dinner yet because I've been at work since 4 o'clock in the morning, and
I know how that is. Yeah, I barely had time to eat today, doing different things. But no, I'm sorry. Please, if you can remember where you were.
I'm probably gonna jump up in here in 2 seconds. But yeah. Like I was getting at with the whole CNN and aggressive meme thing, that got so out of bad. It was out of bounds. It was incredible. It was incredible, and yeah.
Well, I just really am surprised at how much they're trying to spin this, and it really seems like a lot of it is a distraction. I mean, it's just come out now that China would be backing North Korea if there were any kind of altercation with North Korea, and so suddenly we're steering away from any propaganda against North Korea, and well, this seems like a very convenient distraction and perfect timing. So of course, that's one thing that they also have is potential to spin this out of control, have events in other cities with protests, this and that, all over the media, race, let's all hate. And let's not think about how, we're just kind of just losing that whole narrative with North Korea, just like we had been with Russia, and most of Europe is not really wanting to go along with these sanctions. I mean, it's really convenient, for the way. And then let's not forget about Hillary Clinton. Right now she was just offered. I don't know if anyone caught that Hillary was just. I mean, they're talking about having her take a deal where she pleads guilty to a misdemeanor, is what it's going to amount to, and therefore she will not be able to be prosecuted for anything related to the email server or Benghazi. Okay. So with any kind of felonies in the future whatsoever. So it's just, this North Korea, little things like this, I mean, are perfect reasons why they really love this as a race tension distraction. And that's why it's getting milked so much and distorted. Not just the event there, but all these domino affecting events that Antifa, really, not the right, not the alt-right, but Antifa seem to be generating in a response to it. But just the whole idea of these people attending and not being just put in a little area off to the side where they can say, hey, I don't know, I'm trying to understand their point of view. Let's just dissect this a little. Okay, Dyl, before we finish here, I'm trying to think from the far left perspective. Okay, and maybe you could help me with this here. You've known a lot of these people yourself. Okay, so they're saying, all right, this is horrible. These people are neo-Nazis advocating, white supremacy and hate, and they want to go and talk about it, and this can't be allowed. They can't express their ideas. We especially the millennials, we have already been conditioned to not be aware of the First Amendment, that freedom of speech even exists. And so they're saying, no, this is so politically correct. to not let any other attitudes be heard that could offend someone. A lot of this safe space generation was perfect to cash in this extreme way of, okay, we have to go there and we have to stop them, but they shouldn't be allowed to state their mind. They shouldn't be able to have free speech when they get a permit to speak, and have people of like-minded, and you can stay home or you could go to some leftist gathering and listen to people talk there about how you want to change the world. Not that they haven't already done it, but, talk about changing it more toward the politically correct social justice warrior climate you want. How about why didn't you go to one of those far left rallies on August 12th? Antifa people. How about that? Because I tell you what, if you did, whether they're alt-right or alt-light or even hardcore saying they're a Ku Klux Klan or Nazi member, affiliate, all right, they would not have shown up trying to beat you up, all right? They would not have been outside there throwing urine and spraying mace and throwing rocks and hitting with clubs. They wouldn't have gone anywhere near it, So, I mean, how about that, Why did you even show up? And then, of course, why were the police not keeping them to an area where they couldn't still do harm to the attendees? And then, of course, on top of that, why would you bulldoze everyone into each other once it's already a state of emergency? it's I mean, and yeah, a lot of police are coming out saying that we're told to stand down, this and that, expecting that we're expected to leave a race war to ensue. But yeah, this is what I I'm just amazed by. I mean, you'll never see anyone gathering outside a far left group or speaking event, engagement of any sort, who is on the right, who's protesting, or is certainly not going to do any damage to anyone. It's not. Of course, it would be enforced to the full extent of the law, and they'd be removed or arrested immediately if they were. Because we have a double standard in our political climate. But they wouldn't even do it because they'd use their time more productively. Because, yeah, the people who are on the non-establishment right these days, use their brain and, are generally trying to be decent citizens, are actually closer to a libertarian in the sense of, most of them don't want totalitarian control. Some think that it's the only way. And you'll get these neo-Nazi attitudes in the totalitarian sense that are out there, I mean, there's a lot of fascist sort of attitudes that some of them have. They think the only way to fix things is to do that. But that doesn't include genocide, killing people. It doesn't include hate to the point of, you can't have live and let live. All right. Even those people don't advocate that. I can tell you this, okay? Back 200 years ago, sure, the Ku Klux Klan was killing people, but these days, I mean, yeah, they don't even advocate killing or anything that goes against, you could, I mean, segregation, that sort of thing. Some of them care about because of culture. Like I said, every other ethnicity has the right to preserve their heritage, all this sort of thing. So, we can't have these double standards. And yeah, like I said, it's only one side attending to other people's events in the first place. Why? Why? Well, they can't be, okay, you totally disagree with their point of view. How about still just let them have their event and you don't have to be anywhere near it. No one talk about it. The best revenge is to ignore them, right? Why can't the far left people think that? So, that's really my take on it, Dyl.
Yeah, I think I can elaborate on that part with Antifa crashing their event. These whether or not they want to attend or not, these are basically for the most part what I make of a lot of the members of Antifa. These are your emotionally stunted, unemployable bums who either live in their mother's basement or in best case scenario in what do you call them, a store, a storage garage at a safe lot, and they've got nothing better to do with their time, so they can go and crash somebody else's party. These are people of the same generation. They were unlikable people in grade school and high school, and they were always trying to get into the cool kids club or into the smart kids, but nobody would take a grain of seriously. They were creepy efforts. They were they were basically
Degenerates.
degenerates. Yeah, degenerates. They were wusses. They were. It's come to a point in our own culture as Americans. We've nurtured not degeneracy, but wussy culture, and I'm using soft language here because I am aware. And yeah, wussy culture is some call it, such as Clint Eastwood. Yeah, Clint Eastwood and artists I admire a lot. Boyd Rice, he elaborates on this. We've gotten to a point where, see, back in the day, if some kid was a wussy degenerate, you would have called him out, so you wouldn't have associated with him, and either he'd go off and be a wussy on his own or outbreed himself. But it's gotten to a point where we accept people for who they are. We can't let a bit of a war on boys being boys. They can't go out and have recess anymore. And even if they do, they can't play tag or ed. They can't play tug of war. They can't play touch or even tackle football. They're emotional. They're emotionally and physically stunted. They're got all this pent up energy, and that energy manifests itself in all these odd ways. They've got this. They eat a lot. They probably eat a lot of. For all I know, they probably eat a lot of junk food, a lot of soy milk, and the estrogen kind of feminizes the men, turns them into these freaks of nature, as you've probably seen in these Antifa recruitment videos. They're trying to show how not aggressive they are by wearing women's panties and bras, and this is a result of generations of wussy culture. Because I can attest to that myself, growing up spending kindergarten through 8th grade in the same CTA school. I was one of those kids who was put on medication because they thought I had ADHD. They do the same thing for a lot of kids who are energetic and who are just boys being boys. Because
the person who first came up with that diagnosis later in his career came out and admitted it was a made-up disease. The findings were completely invalid from the one who established it. So there you have that. Pharmaceutical industries, has their own motives for these sort of things.
Yeah, and if the medication didn't mess them up, it's the lack of social activity that messes them up.
Well, and lack of stimuli. Yeah, the smart kids are being bored to death. I know this. Yeah, this one. A gentleman who has a show, and he mentions that when he was young, they didn't call it ADHD. They called it, teacher is boring the hell out of me. Just catering to the lowest common denominator in the classroom, while the smart kids are just bored to death where they can't even pay attention. It's just so.
Yeah. When I was a kid, they thought I was either ADHD or they thought I had autism. They thought I had Asperger's, so they took me out of the regular class and they put me in the not the special class, but slightly special class where
slightly special.
Basically kind of like one flew over the cuckoo's nest, where you had the chronics and you had the voluntaries. I was among the voluntaries. You were people suspected of being unstable, but they were able to reconnect with their fellow students. That's kind of my situation.
Gotcha.
School quote unquote psychologists who read off a chart that said signs of Asperger's or signs of autism. She used that as a tool, And I was a kid who had trouble paying attention. I had a lot of energy. As a kid, I was really chubby, so I had a lot of energy in me to take out. We had thank God we had gym. We had a really good gym class, PE class, that let us a teacher who let us swing on ropes and wrestle and jump off the stage onto a mat and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, these days it's like just so twisted. They make you spend all of your time in school, learning about, exploring the other gender, and considering this for yourself, this white guilt, of course, is put into their heads. The rewriting of history and science and everything to a non-European this perspective is another agenda that's been in the works But yeah, the traditional genders has been a big thing that the schools are. I can't believe how much they're going at this now, across the board. I mean, I heard about some of these developments in Sweden, which is kind of extreme in the social justice warrior sense, kind of a test lab, if you will. But California is right behind Sweden. Okay, I mean, what Sweden is to the rest of Europe, California is to the U.S. As big as this country is. Yeah, look on a map compared to Europe. Come on now. I mean, so it's a good comparison. I mean, California is the U.S. is Sweden.
Much.
And you have the social justice warrior, far left, just sort of politically correct activism that a lot of people are jumping on board with. You'll have people in the entertainment industry just to try to, like you had Kathy Griffin. She thinks it's going to help her career. To show Trump's severed head, this and that. You'll have people jumping on just because they think it's a boost for their ratings. People in politics who think it's a boost for their backers, like a lot of extreme types. And now, of course, a lot of those are jumping on Trump with this this spinning of this, racial propaganda, really, that all this is really spun into. But it's also, demonizing. It's trying to demonize anything related to the term alt-right. They're trying to brand it negatively. As a result of this, I think that's what they want to do. I mean, but it's in some way the populace has been, shifting more toward that direction. But in Congress, of course, even the Republicans are willing to lose their seats next time to the Democrats. They're so much against Trump. His whole party even is against him. Is how bad this deep state is. But of the populace, the actual people, they do seem to be shifting away finally after a few decades. I don't know about California and of course Sweden. Now a lot of countries in Europe are, it's going to take a while for them to shift with their pendulums. But there's a shift, I think, in Middle America. It's not quite the same as. I mean, we're in Chicago. It's almost as bad as California for people who don't understand.
Oh yeah,
right?
We're twins. Only climate wise, we're kind of more like maybe Los Angeles or San Diego or Miami during one part of the year. Than the rest of the year, we're like the rest of the Midwest, like a tundra of cold for half the year.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's as far as like the downtown climate and the mayor, we have a Rahm Emanuel, strong liberal influence, far left influence here.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about right there with political wise. There's actually a cartoon that I saw out of notorious political cartoonist Ben Garrison. He did a caricature of Chicago as this this big concrete lead weight, and there's a gentleman chained to by the ankle to the lead weight, and it's looks like Chicago, the Chicago Island. It says Chicago, land of liberals, and he's underneath this water. He can barely get his nose over the surface of the water, and there's this anthropomorphic fish shaped like Rahm Emanuel who's actually swimming away, and it kind of demonstrates how backwards the Chicago system is. It's economically, it's a sinking time bomb. And as for our school system, Chicago public schools, he thinks we can fix everything by just giving it more funding, more money. But it's gotten to a point where giving Chicago CPS more money, more funding, it's kind of like giving a junkie more heroin at this point. Just doesn't want actual help, just wants another fix. And where is that money even going to anyway?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I heard that they were going to stop doing any work on streets as of I don't know, sometime in July or end of July, something like that. I think it was start of July, but it seemed like they wound up finding money for it magically. It almost seemed like a threat. We're out of money. The streets are going to be left in disrepair. But it's amazing how many streets are torn up, and then they wait months before they fix it. Like they have such a small crew of people and such a small amount of money for supplies and to pay workers that's the only way. And I think that is the reality. The money's all going to the wrong places, kickbacks, this and that.
Absolutely.
Well, but and I don't know. Just if we were going to sum up any more about this, this weekend's Charlottesville free speech rally gone awry. I would just like to point out, that I mean, because a lot of people out there are using the term alt-right. Like I was saying, they're trying to brand it now negatively, but most people don't even know what it is, because you'll hear everyone using the term and then they don't really know what it means. Like, I mean, if you say nationalist, you might know a little more than what some people do. A lot of people are trying to move toward that term, but all these terms are left to the individual and how they define it. It's not the same for everyone. That's the first thing you have to realize. But people who are true to the hardcore, the hardcore metapolitical concepts of the alt-right, people like the ones I was mentioning, Daniel Freiber, Heinrich Palmgren, Richard Spencer, like you have to look like, those people who showed up in attendance. Okay. They don't deserve to be affiliated as neo-Nazi, white supremacists that want everyone else to die or to, advocate hate, fascism or any of that. You know what I mean? Like in the term fascism, well, like I said, that everyone has their own political views, but these people, come on, Daniel Freiberg, he was maced. Okay, he got maced. Okay, Richard Spencer, he got maced not by Antifa like Daniel Freiberg, but Richard Spencer got maced by a policeman, and Richard Spencer didn't do anything wrong. Okay, he didn't do anything wrong, And so when they were told to disperse when the bulldozing action began, once it was declared an emergency, state of emergency, and the permit revoked, they started having the police bulldoze everyone into each other in one direction. That was the point where Richard Spencer was bulldozed by the police, because he's like, "What? You're sending me into those people?" And he said, because I listened to an interview the following day he made, and he said, yeah, looking at the police in the eyes, saying, "You're going to make me go into that?" And it's this group of like violent Antifa people with weapons. And the cop, he said they had those cops had guilty looks on their faces, and they were just, just kind of like silently and slowly just, pushing them into the fire, basically. And I mean, and so Richard Spencer was maced by a policeman, Daniel Freiber by Antifa. At least I'm pretty certain that, with him it was Antifa. And then Heinrich Palmgren, okay, his website's taken down that he set up for over 10 years. This is his livelihood. It's amazing journalist and media platform, Red Ice TV, Red Ice Radio. Website completely taken down that morning. The corporate establishment is so afraid of Red Ice TV live streaming the event more truthfully and fairly for the perspective of the alt-right and in general than anyone else would have been able to live stream it. And then his iPhone getting completely wiped to factory settings. So some big name insider players who were taking out anyone who could really effectively cover this well from their point of view, and to get it out to a good amount of the population. You don't do those things every day to someone. So they definitely wanted to stop his ability to do that, and that this is the sort of thing I think needs to be known. All of these people were attacked in various ways that day. So this is the alt-right who showed up, okay? And they, of course, and there was no event, no one got to speak, and that's what happened to them. So, and they didn't attack anyone, they didn't harm anyone, anything. They went there to hear some speeches. I don't want to hear the traditional alt-right. If anyone knows who they are out there, other than myself and a few others, and in this part of the world, I don't know. But don't go blaming people for something they had nothing to do with. Because there's so much speculation out there, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm taking up so much time, Dyl. So I don't know if you have some more thoughts on this event or what else you want to discuss here. We have about 10 minutes left.
I think I've said all that I've needed to say on this topic. I plan on actually writing down my thoughts in form maybe a blog or something like that. Give more of my 2 cents on the topic. Keep that I'll put that out there right now.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, definitely check out all of those links I sent you. It could be good just to get a lot of perspectives thoroughly before you do that. See, I found a lot of good, from various points of view, some pretty good selections if you have time for that before you do the writings. Hey,
Right.
yeah, but yeah, I want to encourage everyone out there to check out your website. If you want to talk more about your work, or any other topics, feel free to discuss. I mean, you were mentioning just the whole phenomena lately. A lot of climates have changed since Trump. A lot of polarization since he's become president.
Yeah. Actually, really quickly, before I head off, make a few corrections. I am
Yeah.
actually have a BFA in photography. I have a BFA, not a BA. It's a bachelor.
Okay.
Setting that straight right there, and
Well, wouldn't that be fine arts though? A bachelor of fine arts.
Bachelor of Fine Arts. It's what the
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, wouldn't that be in the broader category of Bachelor of Arts if you're just doing shorthand? I mean, I don't know.
it's just officially what it says.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. Right. Yeah. But
Yeah, I'm a local freelance photographer. I'm looking to grow in my career right now, and hopefully I won't be pushing 30 taking school photos.
yeah, definitely. I mean, please, everyone out there who's interested in your in Dyl Elner's services here, like I said, I posted his Facebook professional page and personal profile, as well as his website and email. So plenty of ways to get in touch with him for any work related to photography or more. I don't know, any of the other artistic forms you may dabble in, but yeah, primarily for his photography work, I definitely would recommend all you out there who want a fresh perspective in mind, rather than that of the establishment. Because I don't know, at this point, I'm guessing you don't really paint yourself into any group or associate with anything too closely. You seem rather independent in that sense these days.
Of course, I'm independent. I have no desire to really associate with any major group, and I'd have to elaborate on that sometime, maybe in another episode.
Yeah, that would be great. Certainly. And how different archetypes of personality types, those sort of things. Yeah, it does relate to the whole human nature topic that we were getting at there. Well, no, I mean it's been a pleasure. And we'll definitely enjoy having you back on the program. And so we're looking forward to these writings. Be posting in near future, and then also these books you've described. And I don't know if you want to mention anything else one more time, maybe like your email and website.
If you want to look at my work, check out my website, dylelner@squarespace.com. I'm openly available on Facebook. It's Facebook Dyl Elner, and you can also find me on Instagram, Dyl Elner. I, at least on a daily basis, publish photography on there. Usually stuff that I go out and shoot with my camera. Sometimes I capture on my phone, and on a rare occasion, it's a cat picture or video. So yeah, I'm putting myself out there.
Excellent. All right. Well, I do recommend everyone out there. You have anything coming up that a photographer could be useful for? Look to Dyl for something outside of the ordinary. And we'll definitely have you back on. And say in 2 hours after Steven's show, we generally have lately now an after hours segment. Thursday evenings is when our ratings peak, actually. The later it gets, surprisingly, on Thursday, the more listeners tune in. And so we have a really nice after hours roundtable, casual for a few people to join in. Feel free to contribute or just listen into some of it, chat a little. We welcome hosts and guests a lot, quite often. So, if you happen in a couple hours to be awake and you want to on Skype join in, feel free.
I'll be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to offer. I understand. I have the guy before me, the gentleman before me, is broadcasting from Scotland. So yeah, like right now it's already 3 a.m. for him. So yeah, it's even worse. But all right, well, no, we'll definitely have you back on again. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure the listeners enjoyed it as well, and yeah, definitely. I'm going to look forward to reading all of these works as you get them out there.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you. Night.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks. All right, everyone. Well, that was Dyl Elner. And yeah, as I said, please avail yourself of his services. That website again is dyl-elnerspace.com. Okay, dyl-elner.squarespace.com is his website. And well, this has been a very interesting episode of Beyond the Matrix. I think we have learned not to let this divide and conquer polarization consume us. You know, don't take these labels of and claims really of the extreme that you hear. You know, I mean, everyone's spinning this, and keep that in mind. Okay, to their own agenda. All right, we don't want to fall into any of that. Because yeah, I don't. There's. I mean, yeah, you know, we have Antifa. Well, hey, they're paid. Okay, you know, yeah, you have some groups on the fringe of the alt-right who made the other groups look bad. Okay, you know, we're not trying to, you know, attack as much as we're trying to get you to not attack. Okay, and really look at who the real enemies are. And with that, I'd like you to stick around, because Stephen D. Kelly will be coming in just a few moments.
3 more minutes.
All right, about
Actually,
3
you
more.
you got 2 more minutes to kill.
Oh, okay. All right, well, yeah, and after that...
but definitely say
ladies
hi
and
to all the listeners. You did say hi to all the listeners, right? You got that
oh,
part.
well, yeah, and I do, and I should want to also to JP give a hello to, and thank everyone over at Wolf Spirit Radio for the simulcast, and we do appreciate all that listenership. Thank you, JP. It's great to have that extended reach, and we do appreciate you using us in that slot. But everyone stick around, as I'm saying, for the Stephen D. Kelly Show after us, because he's going to be discussing a lot of this topic, okay? Knowing the enemy, I believe, is much of what he's going to go into, and he'll have more on that. We'll probably be doing it after hours later tonight. But yeah, we have to, like I said, not believe all of these agendas. Well, see the agendas, really, you know. Don't let them steer you in how you're supposed to think about these things as much as, you know, let's look where they don't want us looking, okay? Think about Hillary. Let's think about the international relations that the U.S. has been, grasping for last straws at lately, both economically and now with military dominance, which of course is economic in its origin. And, you know, let's not let Hillary get away with anything. Trump gave us a promise about Hillary, and I'd like us to hold him to that promise. Okay? You know, I mean, you know, we don't need a physical wall built. Okay? Let's use that money into putting Hillary behind bars. Okay? You know, he's already doing good with actually getting them to do their job. So there's not illegal immigration, only legal immigration. So don't even call him a racist, but yeah, let's imprison Hillary with that wall money. It might be better spent. But stick around for Stephen. He'll be coming up very shortly here with the Stephen D. Kelly Show. And we'll see you next time. Until then, transcend the construct. Regards.